Hello, and once again, welcome you to our humble channel. This is International Master Oladakwadu, bringing to you the recap of the third round of the World Chess Championship match that is holding in Singapore. And in this round, Gukesh had the white pieces, and this was a Queen's Pawn opening, and it was a little bit of an interesting game. And I think Ding Liren ran into some very serious time trouble. For whatever reason, I have no clue. Because if you start getting into time trouble, that means you really don't know what you're trying to do. You know, it's really hard to speak for Ding Liren right now. But at least this was a much better game than the second round game that was played, which was a very boring Italian game. Okay, let us get right into this game. Um, Gukesh started with the move d4, knight f6 was played, knight f3, d5, c4. This is your regular, normal queen's pawn opening. I really don't know what name to give this yet, so let's keep going. So e6 now looks like a queen's gambit, because we have the e6, d5, we have the d4, c4, but nothing is being captured here, so we can't say it's there. Of course, it's not the acceptable. We don't know exactly the kind of queen's gambit we have on the board. So let us keep going. Captures on c4, captures back, knight to c3. So white just pretty much developing his pieces, trying to put his pieces on the best squares possible. Knight c3 is played, knight to c3, e6, c6, of course. Very important move to solidify the pawn on d5, number one. Also create some possibilities for the queen to come to b6 in case this guy obviously wants to go into the black position, trying to look for stuff to do. So let's keep going. Queen to c2, g6. Now, after the move g6, it is obvious here that black is looking to get the bishop to f5, and of course, coupled with the move bishop g7 castles, black's going to pretty have a good position. Nothing really much to worry about, nothing crazy. So h3 was played. After the move h3, we have bishop to g f5, putting pressure on the queen. Queen goes to b3, attacking b7. Queen goes to b6, threatening to exchange the queens on the b file. g4 was played by Gukesh. Now, this is the first question I have. Like for me, this is the first question I have here for world champion Ding Liren. Do you have to take the queen of b3? Like, what's the point of? Because if it takes back, it's going to have the a file used against you. Normally, you want your opponent to actually capture so that you can use the a file. Personally, in this situation, I would probably go to e6. Now, the reason I would go to e6 is because you don't want to start to force situations, because the moment you start creating a forced sequence, you better really have an idea of how the sequence is going to turn out. So this is the first question mark I have. Queen takes b3, takes all of a sudden, white has this pressure on a7 square. So bishop goes to c2. Another move that I really question. This pawn can always be defended. Bishop f4 is a good move. The threat is, if you take the pawn, I can take on b8 and take on a7. So it's kind of even. But then I really don't like the bishop being on c2 because you're far away from home. If you stay away from home, you're going to get in trouble. So bishop c2 is played, and bishop to f4. So we can't win a pawn here, like I said, because the bishop takes b8, rook takes, and you're not pawn up, and then of course there's pressure on the pawn on b7. So after the move bishop to f4, h5 is played. One thing I said in one of my videos, I mentioned something, not just one, several of my videos. I really believe that a GM can, an average rating of an average, I don't know, if 25, 2600, let's just say 2600. If they decide to hold the game, if they decide to not lose, they really have that capability, because you really have to put the onus on your opponent to look for a way to outplay you. The reason why GMs lose is because they think they have something, they are trying to win. Because based on it, there are so many things that we know it entails to be a strong chess player. And majority of these grandmasters, they have them. The opening preparation, the endgame technique, and all that stuff. So if a GM decides to just hold his own and decide not to lose the game, I think it's really, really possible. But I don't know if they think along that way. But one thing we have to start looking at is, there's, of course, we know there's a psychological part of chess, but we talk about it, but we're trying to do it. So what's my question again? All these forcing moves, if you're really not sure of what you're going to get from it can come back to haunt you. And the sad thing is now you're making forcing moves, and now you get into time trouble. That means you really plan all the things that actually happen on the board. But let's keep going. H5, rook to G1, captures on G4, captures back. Knight D7, developing the spaces. By the way, I really don't like this bishop on C2. I don't like this bishop on C2. Of course, like I said, you can't capture the pawn yet because there's always bishop takes, and rook takes A7. So the pawn is not hanging. So knight B7 was played, and now knight D2, protecting the pawn. And now there are always possibilities where this bishop can be trapped, like rook to C1. I don't know, where can the bishop go? Okay, the bishop still has a square here, but after this, what happens? So you really have to be careful with your bishop on C2. Like, your bishop is on C2. What is it doing on C2? Yes, your bishop is in the enemy territory, but what is it doing on the enemy territory? You can't just stay there if you're really not trying to make something work for you. So, rook to G8 was played, and I think the idea of rook to G8 is to push the pawn to G4 or G5. The bishop moves. The bishop can come all the way back to either E6 or E7, whichever the case. But of course, Gukesh got that move in before Ding Liren. So G5, knight goes to H5, bishop to H2. Even at this point in time in the game, it was kind of slight edge for black. What we can always say is even. Even with the misplaced bishop, I really believe this bishop is misplaced. I keep saying it. This bishop is misplaced. I mean, look at all your other pieces. All your other pieces are just hanging around in your territory, feeling cool and all that. But this guy right here, you can't. When you stray away from home, bad things happen, guaranteed. Just remember that. So, rook goes to H8, and I think the idea is to probably get the knight, relocate the knight, put pressure on the H2 bishop. Bishop has to probably move back to G3 at some point in time, So let's keep going. F3. Now, F3 makes sure this bishop doesn't have any safe square to go anytime there's an attack on the bishop on C2. Like I keep saying, this bishop is misplaced. So let's keep going. So knight goes to G7, rook attacking the bishop on H2. Bishop goes to G3, rook to H5, attacking the pawn on G5. E4. E4 says, yeah, if you want my pawn, you can have my pawn. So after the move E4, now if we notice, there's all the play has actually been going on the king's side and in the center. Nothing really happening on the queen side for now. Nothing at all. So E4 is played, captures back. Knight goes to E6, pressure. D4, pressure on G5. So rook goes to C1, asking the bishop some questions. And actually, I think this is where Ding Liren really lost the thread of this game. Rook H5 was a very bad move based on the engine. Rook H5, I don't understand, And I keep saying this, just, hold your peace, Bishop E7 would have been a better move, right? Even Bishop F5 just getting away, finally, just before you get trapped. But if you say you have ideas, you better be able to back up those ideas. Otherwise, there's going to be trouble. So rook H5, E4, takes back. Knight to E6, rook to C1, attacks the bishop on C2. Knight takes, defending the bishop on C2. Bishop F2, attacking the knight that is protecting the bishop on C2. Bishop goes to G7, protecting the knight that is protecting the bishop on C2. For example, if take, I have take, you cannot take because I'm going to take. So you can't do that right now. So knight goes to E2. Now, dislodging the knight that is protecting the bishop on C2. All of a sudden is about C2. Knight takes B3, rook takes C2, knight takes D2, king takes D2, knight to E5. All of a sudden, somebody's a piece down. I mean, just like that, someone is a piece down. Somebody's a piece down. I'm going to say, if you don't know the sequence you're getting into, don't get into it. I mean, yes, I know. I mean, compared to Ding Liren, who am I? But chess don't lie. You have to play the position. Chess is no respect of title or whatever it is. It's about the position. It's about, like somebody used to say, Nigeria is about good moves. So, I mean, now all the complication that came up from the exchanges, black is down a piece. All of a sudden, this game is slipping away from Ding Liren. And it's not just down a piece, it's badly down on the clock as well. So knight goes to d4, protecting double attack. Knight goes to d4, he pins, he simply takes away so that this doesn't work, this is defended, and we don't have to worry about that. And after a couple more moves, there was really nothing much black could do. Like black started all this stuff. If you don't want to fight, just keep still. Don't look for trouble. Really. Rook goes to c1. You're down a piece for what? How many pawns? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2 pawns. I don't think it's not enough. And the thing is, you're playing against 2 bishops. That's another problem for you in a very open position. So that's another problem for black. So king to e7, rook to d1 makes a lot of sense. You're protecting the knight on d4 as many times as possible. And of course, they're looking for possibility of trading. Knight moves away, trade. Just trade and try to use the extra piece. So king goes to e8, bishop to g3, rook goes to h5, knight to f3, threatening to exchange. The more pieces you exchange, the stronger white's position gets. Takes, captures back with the king, bishop attacks the rook, rook attacks the rook, bishop takes, bishop attacks the rook on d7, f5 is played, bishop attacks the rook on g5, rook goes to h5, and I think at this point Ding Liren lost on time. Ding Liren lost on time. So I think if Ding Liren keeps saying, I don't know, I haven't really prepared or done this. Maybe he really hasn't, although it's hard to believe. But the way he's playing is really, it's pretty much supporting the fact he hasn't really done a lot of preparation. But if you haven't done any preparation, whose fault is it? I mean, it's a World Championship match. You have a lot of time to prepare. But this was a very unexcusable loss by Ding Liren. And of course, congratulations to Gukesh for scoring his first win. And I know there are going to be more. There are definitely going to be more. So we will see you again in the 4th game of the World Chess Championship. And till then, take care. God bless and bye for now.